Right. So this is Aqua. I also respond to Aqua and Ikya. And I'm just trying something new. I was told that people prefer seeing my face as opposed to just hearing my voice. And I also just didn't want to look into a podcast platform yet. You might hear this on a podcast platform at some point in time, but for right now, this is what we're going with. So I'm an executive coach and strategic advisor, which is just a fancy way of saying that I love working with leaders to help them love themselves, love their work, and also love their life. And I do that by simply helping them focus, right? So there's a lot of productivity things that I do, helping them connect with themselves and others so that they can scale. All right. And so what I wanted to do today was to share the 3 books that shaped my 2020. And so one of the reasons why I actually did not want to do video, and I'll just tell you straight up, is simply because I write my notes all over the place. I have notes on my screen. I have notes on my iPad. I have notes also on my phone, because when I'm putting these together, it just comes from all different places. But hopefully it will work out. And yeah, it won't be too distracting for those of you who are watching this. But these are the 3 books that shaped my 2020. And then I also wanted to make sure that I said this. It might come off a little ranty, but I'm just saying what I want to say. And I think it's super important. As someone who does work with leaders as a coach, I'm really, really intentional about what I share in terms of what I want people to read. And let me tell you why. Reading a book does not make you a leader, okay? And posting about the books, and I've been guilty of this, right? I do actually do post books that I've read, also doesn't make you a leader, okay? It's really about how you incorporate and leverage the information to further your personal and professional goals, all right? That's really what's going to help demonstrate or help show or help you achieve or not achieve. How can you implement the information that you're reading, okay? How can a book help shift your mindset, give you another perspective, force you to reflect? And for me, one of the things that I actually use books for a lot of times is to give me a better vocabulary, or to help me sort of frame something into a structure a lot better. And then of course, there are also books to simply entertain. And there's actually nothing wrong with reading books to simply entertain. I love doing that when I go to bed, because I read so many books for work that I love just reading books that make me happy, make me laugh, give me some sort of emotion. So simply to entertain, all right? And I love reading for comic relief, right? Which is what I already said. So anyway, my point was, please don't read for the gram, okay? Please don't read for the LinkedIn post, or because supposedly that CEOs are supposed to read 1 book a second or whatever that new stat is, all right? That being said, I'd love to share the books that really helped shape my 2020 and that are really going to help shape my 2021 as well. So I mentioned this before, it's really important for me to be able to read things when they're not for entertainment purposes, to help me in my business, to help me in my personal life, or to help me show up better, right? And for me, a lot of times, when I'm thinking about myself, right, I'm thinking about my emotional self, my mental self, my physical self. You can add some additional things to that. But I think at the end of the day, that kind of covers most of it. And I love reading books to sort of cover all those things. And so the books I'm going to be sharing with you today cover those 3 things. They cover the emotions, they cover the mental health, and they also cover the physical as well. So let me start at the top. So at the top I have, and I actually have this as an actual book because I stole this from my mom just to read. I'm in her house, so I didn't really steal it. I'm gonna leave it. Is Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. And as you can see, when I read, I actually love taking notes. There's a ton of notes. Well, not actual notes. This is not my book. These are just Post-its for quotes that I really enjoyed. I thought that were really not only hilarious, but had a lot of truth as well. And I thought that I'd share those with my audience. So these were things I actually shared on Instagram, and I think also LinkedIn as well, because I thought they were incredibly thought-provoking and would force you to think in a different way. And that's why I really love this book. I'm not sure if you'd want to call it an autobiography or a memoir. Is he old enough to have an autobiography? Not sure. But it's great. Not only is it hilarious, but I think it covers a lot of really important topics that leaders really need to engage with, especially at this time that we're in right now. Okay, so one of the reasons why I also really enjoyed it is because I resonate a lot with his story, right? So as someone who comes from a diverse background, I have parents from 2 different continents. I have a lot of people who have ideas of who I am and how I should be just based on the way I look and based on the way I sound. So a lot of that also resonated with me as well, and then gave me some really, I think, interesting ways to engage with it and an interesting vocabulary to talk to other people about it. But here are some of the key words that sort of come out for me based on this book. Unconscious biases. So super, super key, right, as a leader. Just recognizing that how someone sounds, the way they look, right, what they show up in, does not necessarily always give us a good indication of their ability or their competence level, right? And a lot of times, Black and brown people, looking at them, right, will have these sort of unconscious biases of who they are and what they're capable of, or even how they got there, right? And they're not always very helpful. And as leaders, we need to learn to take a step back, and we need to learn to sort of intercept some of those unconscious biases, some of those thoughts, because they usually don't help us in the long run. And a lot of times we're wrong, okay? So that's really where I love this book. It really forced me to rethink. It really helped give me some thoughts on how I can also force other people to rethink as well, because that's what I do as a coach. So it includes a lot of things around stereotypes, helps you really think about other people's experiences, how we generalize, how we make assumptions, right? And, from reading this, once again, it just reminded me that, I don't always know what people are going through. I don't always know about people's story, right? And that by being curious, asking questions, and just being open, I can actually do a lot better job of helping bring people along and getting people to support me as well. So that's the first book that I really enjoyed. And I also just wanted to say that I do have a list of books. So my favorite leadership books, it's in my leadership lab portal. If you want access to it, I'll put a link below. But I will say this book and the next book I'm going to do is not in there, simply because those are much newer books. And my previous list is from 2 years ago for the most part. All right, but let's get into the second book. And so I love to read a lot. So I do have a Kindle. This particular one is on my Kindle app, though, on my iPad, just because I thought that would be easier to show, and it's in color, unlike my actual Kindle. So here it is. It's called In the Flow, Unlock Your Hormonal Advantage and Revolutionize Your Life by Elisa Vitti. Okay, I love this book, and I'm sure that there may be some men or people who identify as men who are watching this. You should read it too, okay? Let me just get into why I love this book. I love this book because it's going to force you to rethink everything that you've ever thought about women, right? And if you're a woman, especially if you're a super ambitious, superhuman woman, you love doing the things, you want to be out there, you want to get things done, you want to be one of the boys, this is simply just going to remind you that though we can do everything just as well as men, we do have different hormones. And because of those different hormones, we do show up differently, okay? That's just the way that we're wired. And rather than think of it as a defect or something that's wrong with us, we should embrace it and use it to our advantage. And that's what this book is all about. And I love the way it's written. It's so constructive, it's so positive, and it will give you all the tools you need to make the most of yourself at every point in your cycle. Okay, so I'm someone who has been tracking their menstrual cycle for a really long time. I'm sure a lot of you watching this have done it. I hope it's not too taboo, but I do think it's something that's important that all of us should be talking about, because more than half of the entire planet has one for the most part, right? And so as you track your menstrual cycle, you can also track how you feel and the types of tasks that you like to do, and also the type of food that you eat. And this book will actually give you a complete framework of how you can look at that and how you can make the most of it. It'll give you foods you can eat. It'll tell you the type of tasks that work better depending on where you are in your cycle. So I'll tell you, currently I'm at my sort of brainstorming creative point, which is why I'm really enjoying getting on, talking, doing a lot of fun things, brainstorming, a lot of research, just because that's where I am actually in my cycle, and I've tracked it, okay? And so it'll also help you think about when you should also take some downtime. And I think that this one is a super key thing that we don't sometimes think about as women. And that's simply because we currently live in a 24-hour cycle. That's because men have hormones that work within a 24-hour cycle. So men, 24 hours, women, 28 days. So imagine trying to squeeze yourself into a 24-hour cycle when your cycle is actually 28 days, right? So it's completely different, all right? And, I don't know the specific science. You can read up the science, but at the end of the day, I think the important thing to keep in mind is that each of us as individuals need to take the time to know ourselves, love ourselves, and make the most of ourselves. And you can only really do that by starting to track what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And I think that that's another message that comes out in this book. Keep track, see what works, see what doesn't work, replicate that does. All right. So if you're a male leader, my hope is that if you do take the time to read this, or you have a conversation with someone who reads this book, that you will change your relationship with your mama, your sister, your female partner, if you have one and you're into that, your female employees, your female boss. All right. I really do think that this book should be required reading for every single human, just so that you understand that, women are very multifaceted. And because of the way our hormones work, we really do have a very interesting cycle where, at one point of the month, we're whipping, we're wild, we're doing the craziest things, we're out there, we're very social. And in another part of the month, we actually need to take a break because physically, right, there's certain things that are happening where we do need maybe to be a little bit more calmer and where we do need to eat certain things. So I'm not going to go into any more detail about it unless you want me to do something specific on this. But, I think it's a really great book, and it's really going to shift how you think about your month, right? And how you use your day. And you'll no longer make excuses for being you. That's all I'm going to say once you read it. All right. So let's get into the last one. And I'm going to look away simply because it is also on my iPad. And I want to make sure that I can bring it up and show everyone. But it's called No Hard Feelings. And I think that this is a really, really great book for everybody. And I think that really as a coach, I spend a lot of my time actually talking about some of these things. And so what am I talking about? All right. So it's called No Hard Feelings. All right. It's the secret power of embracing emotions at work. So it's by Liz and Molly. And any of you who have been on Instagram or you've been on LinkedIn, you've probably seen one or two of their cartoons. Their cartoons are amazing. And what I love about them is that it forces you really to rethink a lot of your limiting beliefs, all right? A lot of your assumptions, a lot of your interpretations of emotions. And that's what this book is all about. It gives you the 7 new rules for emotions at work, right? That allow you to think about how you can leverage your emotions to be a better human being at work when you're engaging with your boss, with your employees, with your teammates. It's super, super key. And these are some of the key phrases that I love from this book. I'm not going to try getting too deep about it. And like I said, you've probably seen 1 or 2 cartoons from it in social media at some point in time. But these are my 2 favorite things. It actually comes straight from the beginning, but I think that they're great because it forces you really to rethink your own response, right? When I say emotion, like what comes up, like what's your first thought? Is it negative? Is it positive? Do you feel like a crying woman? You should rethink that. You need new beliefs around emotions potentially. But anyway, here they are. You will always have emotions, so it's time for you to start to deal with them. I love it. And it's true. Whether you're a man or a woman, you will always have emotions, so learn to deal with them. All right. And the second one that I really love is the future of work is emotional. And I think this is so key, especially to where we are now in the world with this entire, crisis that all of us are going through, right? There are a lot of things that are going on right now. And so it's really important that you're able to recognize that you have these emotions and use those emotions as messages, right? Use them as data to decide what to do next, how to engage, what you need to do maybe to even diffuse those emotions, right? Or self-soothe. And super, super important, right? Especially now, even that we're working so far away from people where we physically can't always engage with them. So people will send us a message and we might interpret it in a certain way that might lead us also to act right in a certain way, right? So it's very, very important that we become aware of what our emotions are, right? As we become more remote and as we become more collaborative in the work that we do as well, right? The truth is all of us have to work with each other in order to get things done, whether you're working with a client, boss, or, a teammate, employee, it doesn't matter. You have to work with people, through people, influence them. And so having a good sense of your own emotions will allow you to sort of understand other people's emotions a little bit better as well. So those are the 3 books that I wanted to share with everyone that really helped shape my 2020. So first and foremost, Born a Crime, then In the Flow, and then No Hard Feelings. And I really think that if you have the time, you should check them out. They're really going to help, once again, help you shift how you approach, stereotypes, generalizations. The second is going to help you shift how you approach women. And if you're a woman yourself, it's going to help you shift how you approach your own emotional, mental, and physical well-being. And then last but not least, No Hard Feelings is going to help shift your relationship with your emotions and the emotions of others. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I hope the video that comes out isn't too bad. We'll see. Let me know what you think, but I really do like doing these more podcast audio-like clips in very comfortable settings. So I don't have any makeup on. The fan is off. So if I'm sweating a little bit and glistening, that's why. I try to put the light on so it's not super dark, but this is what I have for you today. And let me know what you think. Let me know if I should start a book club. It's something I've thought about. Should I start a leadership book club? If I get enough people who are interested in it and I can figure out what it would be in terms of like time and money investment, we should totally do that if you guys are up for it. So let me know. And finally, if you want access to my list of leadership books, I will say there are 2 Brene Brown leadership books on there. They are great. I'll put a link so that you can sign up to my Leadership Lab portal. It's completely free. And there's a lot of other goodies in there as well. So the last thing I'll leave you is when you're thinking about books and you're using them for more than entertainment, think about how you can implement what you've read now. Not next year, not in a month, not 10 years from now, but now. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I really appreciate that you've gotten all the way here. Enjoy the rest of your day. And happy 2021. Bye.